Hi, everybody. Welcome to NLL Lacrosse Talk. I am Gary Groob, and with me today I have a special guest, former NLL player, Pat Maddalena. Pat, welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it. Good to catch up with you as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the first question we ask everybody is, how did you get involved in lacrosse? What made you pick up a stick?
When I was a young kid, I think it was around 6 or 7, my two best buddies, Todd Bison and Brad Morgan, God rest Brad's soul, he's no longer with us, but they were such good hockey players. And my dad asked them, why is Todd and Brad so good at hockey? So their parents answered lacrosse. So Brad and Todd were already really good lacrosse players. I think they had played at least 1 or 2 years. So I picked it up at 7 years of age because of Brad and Todd were good hockey players. My dad did it, just as a summer thing. Soccer was quite boring for me. I would just kick the ball past everybody and score some goals. So he thought it was an opportunity to hang out with my friends and be good overlap with hockey, as Gretzky and Nieuwendyk and Adam Oates and all the big boys had played lacrosse. So that's kind of how I got into picking up a stick.
Right. What kept you in the game?
I remember even back to about my second year. I remember Todd, my buddy, had 136 goals, and I wasn't too bad myself. I had 70, and it was always just like we were both road runners, very fast, and it was fun scoring goals. And I think that I had a knack for going to the net, and scoring goals was fun for me. And I don't know, it was a good way to release some energy as a kid. And I just kept aspiring to play and play. And then when the Bandits came along in '92, that's kind of when things kind of changed a bit.
Right. Who do you say your early role models were in sport?
In sport, it was Joe Mullen before I got into like lacrosse idol or icons. Joe Mullen, I think was the leading American goal scorer when he retired.
Right.
I got to meet him personally at CC's dugout in Welland when I was a kid because my dad was close friends with Chachi and Chico, the owners of CC's, and he came to my house when I was a kid, and I almost dropped the Stanley Cup ring down a drain in Toronto. So that was quite the story. My dad said he's still shaking as a result of it. So Joey was actually, oddly enough, very similar to me, like 5'7", 5'8", a goal scorer, and he was a nice guy. Not saying that I'm a nice guy, but yeah, Joe was a good role model because he always took the time for kids, and I think that laid the groundwork for me. Once I became a pro, to be very open with kids.
Right.
And then, as I said, as kind of things evolved in terms of going to Bandit games, John Tavares was the clear role model for me, and obviously a blessing to be able to play with him, be roommates, be pranked my very first game by him. Like he was a constant joker, and I would say Joe Mullen hockey initially, obviously Wayne Gretzky, and then John Tavares as my main lacrosse guy when I was about 14, going to Bandit games in '92.
Right. It's hard not to fall in love with lacrosse going to the Bandits games, because I remember going to the Memorial Odd as a teenager and just absolutely, my mind would explode sitting up in the orange section, afraid to look forward because you might be on the field if you lean too far forward. And
That's
just
right.
watching Darius and watching John and watching all these guys and just go at it. And I loved especially the middle league because it was the Wild West at that point.
I think that's what helped you and I fall in love with the game, is that Bandit experience at the Odd. I found it always way better than going to a hockey game. It's more action, and I was just blessed to be good at the sport that I love.
Right, right. Now, at what point did you figure out in your own mind that lacrosse is more than just fun for you? That this is something that you could make a go at?
I would probably say once I got to a year or two into junior, um, I was kind of a bit different in the sense of when I went to go to Bandit games, I would go and mimic all of John's goals in the snow at night. And I'm not exaggerating when I said that. So that was in and around like 1996 when I got into junior. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could get a scholarship. That was the first
Mhm.
thing. I wanted to get a scholarship to the States. I would sit with Augie Mate at Lakeshore and dub my own tape, and now you and I would just cut and paste videos on our phone.
Right.
But I would sit and we would send out videotapes. But Augie was great. Augie brought us to the States, the games, showcased us in Pittsburgh tournaments. He
Mhm.
organized a crew from Burlington to join us, Jody Hobro, Ryan Flippins, those guys. And we went to North Carolina on like scouting trips. And I was getting actively recruited by Duke University coach Pressler
Mhm.
back when Augie and his brother Frank ran Prep Stars. Um, the thing is, I just couldn't get the SATs up. I was very good in math at 620 or 630, but
Wow.
unfortunately, I just couldn't get the SATs up. So Pressler forwarded my name onto John Hind, who gave me a scholarship to Butler.
Mhm.
He was a hell of a coach, good disciplined guy. I didn't handle that situation very well because I only stayed 1 year, and then I came home, and then made the Bandits. I'll rewind a little bit backwards. There was a crossroad between hockey and lacrosse as
Right.
well. I had got invited to go to Niagara Falls Thunder hockey training camp, but
Well.
hockey or lacrosse team Canada junior tryouts were the same weekend.
Mhm.
So I actually had to make a decision, and I went and tried out, and had one of the better tryouts of my life, and made that World Junior team. And that was kind of when I knew lacrosse was my path. In '95 tryouts, and then '96 was the World Games, and then that's when I pushed the accelerator with trying to get a scholarship.
Right. Let's go into junior a little bit because you had a lot of success right off the hop because you were rookie of the year in '96. So it gelled quickly for you and you had great numbers. Talk about the team and of course talk about the program with Burlington and the Chiefs.
Um, when I was at provincials in midget year, um, I was lucky because we were B and we were in the same arenas that the A provincials were in, and Burlington and Whitby had probably one of the best lacrosse games I've ever watched in the A final. It was like
Right.
9-8, and I was like pretty in awe of what became my teammate. Jody Hobro. He was like unbelievable then. And then I got drafted by them. And I also remembered Sean Wilkins being very good. And, those guys became my teammates. Obviously, we were younger guys then. In my rookie year, that was would have been their third year. I played 1 year junior B to be closer
Mhm.
to home.
Right.
I didn't really have I don't know. I didn't really want to travel. I wanted to try to win the Founders Cup because there's some guys that I looked up to, Mike
Mhm.
Kersey, Mike Laddister on that St. Catharines team.
Right.
So I think that playing a year junior B actually did help me and laid some groundwork for me having some success in junior A. Um, so that and the fact that there was just a lot of skill in Burlington. Obviously, there was depth and discipline that were the problem.
Right. You guys because there's both there's St. Catherine's program, there's Burlington program, both very, very successful programs. Was there any one thing that had led you towards Burlington as opposed to St. Catherine's?
Well, I actually didn't have a choice. I got drafted coming out of a non-affiliated center. So Burlington selected me, I think, third or fourth overall in the junior draft, and I had to go there. It's
Right.
not like today where I don't even know what the rule would be. I don't know if Pelham or Welling kids have to go in the draft, but I didn't choose Burlington over St. Catharines. I was
Right.
drafted, and just did what I could to try to be a
Right.
best lacrosse player I could.
Right, and the rest is history too, because you also won the sportsmanship award in '98, and you're the MVP in the All Star game in '99. So you definitely had a storied junior career to
Yeah, I
be
got a, I got a, I got a good story about that All-Star game.
right.
So I'll never forget it the rest of my life. Paul Day was our coach for that game,
Hmm.
And like we're ready to go out, and Paul Day comes in, and he is just losing his marbles on us because apparently the year before there was some drinking that was going on, and he's
Right.
like, you guys are now the new role models. There's kids watching you. You know that you owe the game. The game doesn't owe you anything, and he's just going on a tie like in a rage. And I
Right.
think it pumped me up and it helped me get the player of the game. And when Paul coached me in Orlando, we had some chuckles about that. In fact, I see him in my clinic often. You know, with him now running junior A stuff, we might be
Mhm.
working with them in
Right.
some capacity to help them with the rehab. But Paul Day had a lot of influence on me winning that MVP. And also, I had some good chemistry with Rob Taylor, who's a good friend of mine now too, coaching Philly. But that game, a lot of credit to Paul Day getting me fired up.
Right. In junior lacrosse, did it teach you more about the discipline and professionalism just to help you along?
Truthfully, I don't know how much discipline was going on in Burlington. We were all kind of wild guys.
Right.
And like I said, I think that's what we lacked a little bit in that in depth in Burlington. Um, in terms of discipline, I just think that that was something I was blessed with, right? Like I would practice at home and swim my laps and shoot the ball and was extremely disciplined to what I had to do to get better. And you know, I speak that often that elite athletes are born, they're not made. They know
Right.
what they need to do to get to the next level. You know, that's gym, nutrition, um, extra practicing. So, in terms of discipline, I just think that I was lucky to have that internally.
Right. So, in terms of we're talking about work ethic compared to natural talent, work ethic wins 90% of the time, I would say.
Yeah, and as the game of lacrosse is growing, talent is definitely going to be required in there.
Hmm.
One reason I love Sidney Crosby is he works harder than he has talent, and he's
Yep.
talented. You know what I mean? So all those guys and Dan Dawson, who's a good friend of mine, and Matt Vince, like I'm so proud of what they became because of how much they worked and they did what it took to be professionals outside the game. So that's why, like, I have always rooted those buddies on because I
Hmm.
saw that extreme professionalism in them.
Right. They're also the hardest workers in the room at all times, too.
Oh yeah, and away from it, right? Like Matt Vince is like chiseled out of stone. He eats healthy. He's doing everything it takes to be successful. And
Hmm.
look, that's why he's able to still be successful in his 40s.
Right. Right. Let's move on to the draft. And 99, you're drafted by Buffalo 15th overall. Talk about that day. And now you're drafted into the NLL.
That day, it was funny. I was at Isaac's at Brock when I went to Brock University, and a friend and teammate Wayne Burke came up to me, who's a pretty good lacrosse player himself, and he notified me. I never got a call. I didn't wasn't live on the draft. I didn't know I was getting drafted. I was
Right.
hoping I was get drafted, but um, I don't even think the Bandits had drafted me to make an immediate impact on the team because they had brought in Sean Williams and Derek Malowski and Darcy Sweet and try to bring in some young guys that were 3 years older than me, like mid 20s, to complement Darius and no, not Darius, he was gone. Richie and John. There was kind of a changing of the guard in Buffalo there with
Right.
they wanted a bit of a youth movement and I heard through the grapevine Dave Vernon told me that when he talked to Ted Sawicki, who was the coach, that I was selected for future years and I wasn't going to make the team. And that kind of pissed me off and fired me up. And I ended up using that as motivation. And again, I probably had the best tryout of my life, especially those first 2 weekends.
That brings me to my favorite question, and that is your very first training camp. Was it what you envisioned?
Oh my God. It was surreal. It was nerve wracking. But I think that we'll call it that nervous energy, I kind of always did a little bit better with that, you know, like, um, and going through drills in the first half hour, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going one-on-one with Rich Kilgore. Like, this is crazy. So it went from like I'm a good junior player to now I'm like playing against the best players in the world. So it was like an unbelievable experience. Like almost one that I still sit back and I look at. I couldn't believe how good I did in that training camp. But it was surreal is the best way to describe it.
One of the things that a lot of the guys tell me is the difference between junior and the NLL tryouts is the speed. Because now you're not playing with juniors, you're playing with men. Was that enough to throw you off your game a little bit, or did that just elevate?
I actually think that elevated me. I think that helped the speed thing helped me not think too much and be more reactionary. I think the strength of the guys, like we had Andy Ogilvy and Craig Stevenson and Rich Kilgore. To me, that was the noticeable one when the game kind of slowed down to the pick and roll stuff. I'd
Right.
say that was the most dramatic thing that I noticed, especially the way Andy Ogilvy used to cross check, right? So
Sure.
um, that was the most glaring thing for me. In fact, I think this speed elevated me a little bit to kind of shut this brain off and just play.
Right. Who took you under their wing to try and
Uh,
help you get accustomed?
oh my God. I would say Sean Williams
Hmm.
initially was the leader in that. Mike Accursi as well.
Hmm.
And then once I made the team, it was John Tavares. Um, but they were all helpful. I mean, Derek Malowski and I were very close. Darcy Sweet and I became close. And but Sean Williams was like after the first game, Sean was like my roommate. He was also my coach at Brock at the time.
Okay.
And Mike Accursi was very, very influential too. I really looked up to Mike. I remember my first exhibition game in Rochester. They called me into their hotel room and they were drinking beers because they weren't playing. And
Mhm.
they're like, "This could be you," because they knew I was young guy like the
Right.
like party and they were just trying to motivate me and it worked. I had a great game in Rochester. Um, John to or Sean Williams told me that hey, JT really likes the way you're playing. Congratulations, you're on the Bandits. I'm like, well, I didn't get a contract yet, but it fired me up. That was all again. That whole things are moving fast in my life.
Right.
So Sean Williams and Mike Accursi to start, and then John Tavares after
Right.
that.
All right. Let's move into you make the team, and now again you grew up watching the Bandits. Now you're coming out of the tunnel in to the Bandits, and now you're in Bandit land. Talk about the feeling of now you're surrounded. You're not in the stands. You're being watched.
Yeah, walking in the dressing room to see my jersey was a moment that I'll never forget.
Right.
And then that's where John Tavares was great. We're on the way to the first game, and he saw I was so nervous in the car, like on the way to the arena, and he said he says, "Oh, Kurt Silcott called. There's some birds that flew in the generator. There's no game. The arena can't function." And I was like, "Oh, thank God!" Like I was so nervous. But it went from like this little like deer in the headlights nervousness to I belong here because I had scored early in my first game
Right.
on Bob Watson, who obviously was one of the best goalies, or yeah, top three goalie
Mhm.
at the time. So that was exciting to say the least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you spent a couple of years with Buffalo, and you wind up in Columbus with the Land Sharks. Well, I love the name. Probably the greatest logo, but not the greatest team. But let's talk about it there. And you're with Bob Hamley as your coach. Talk about working with Bob.
Well, first of all, I was devastated to leave Buffalo.
Right.
My uncle Rick was very influential in helping me say, "Hey, you know what? You're not going to be behind JT and Sean Williams and those guys anymore. You're going
Right.
to have the ability to, reach your potential." And I was quite pouty about it, to be honest with you. But then once we got going, Bob was a hell of a coach. Bob knew the game very well from an X and O standpoint, and I don't know, it was just an honor. And what he saw in me to trade Billy D. Smith for me, that's
Right.
virtually what the trade was. Billy D. and I are extremely close, but working with Bob was awesome. You know, the amount of intellect he has, and now as I'm getting into coaching, I'm using a bunch of the stuff Bob kind of taught and was teaching, especially offensively.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm grateful for him bringing me over to that organization and then getting us from Columbus to Arizona. He was a big part of that.
Right. You had some decent teammates too. Dan Dawson was with you, Casey Behrens, Derek Suddens. You had some pretty good players along that way.
Oh yeah, and I still think the best team that I was ever on that never won a championship was the '06 Arizona team. We
Right.
happened to lose to Colorado in the semis. So we had some great years and some great players and great coaching, you know. When Hammer brought in Bob McMahon, like that really changed the defensive structure to our team and added a big element. Obviously, you know, we got to the finals in '05. Unsure if we're going to win against that experienced group, especially with the ACC being full and all that stuff. But I don't know. It was such a great group of guys and great teammates, and you know, I enjoyed every one of the teams that I played on. People often ask me, which I know that you would probably say, "Well, what
Mhm.
was your favorite?" Well, I was blessed. I got along. I had great teammates. I had good friendships, and each different one had some sort of uniqueness that I'm proud of.
Right. You also had lots of great coaches along the way too. You know, you go over after Arizona, you're in New York with the Titans and moved to Orlando with them. And Eddie Como was your coach, and Eddie's been on the show before, and it's just wonderful talking with him and the knowledge that Eddie has, and still to this day with Georgia.
Oh yeah, Eddie. Eddie was my junior coach. So I had 2 years with Eddie prior to the later years of New York. Adam Mueller was also a heck of a coach.
Right.
Um, he he had a unique skill set in communicating, especially to the American players about the intricacies of box.
Right.
That was shocking at how well he trained these good athletes to become great blocks players, not just offensively but defensively. So, and Eddie, God, what a great communicator, what a great offensive mind. Um, Such a good chess match kind of guy in the game
Right.
of lacrosse. Understands the game. Sean Ferris and I are still very close. The Chai they call him. We had quite the group, and I'm blessed for all the coaches I had. You know, like even Jimmy Meredith back in my first year Buffalo. I'll never forget. I tell this story to kids all the time. I'm like, he pulled me over and he goes, "Have you ever seen yourself throw a fake?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, and politely, because he was the nicest guy in the world. He goes,
Right.
"You can't fake anybody out with that." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Go home and throw a fake in the mirror and tell me if you'd be sold as a goalie." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right." I'm like this. So then he made me fake in a mirror to make sure
Right.
I improved what I was doing. And then obviously it became a big thing and skill set within my career. So all of them I'm grateful for. And now as I'm getting into coaching, I see bits and pieces of all of them in delivering my instruction.
Right. Right. Again, when you're with the Titans, you had another bunch of really great players. You know, you had a chance to work with Matt Vince again, Jordan Hall, Casey Powell, all these really prolific, NLL scorers. And, you putting up great numbers always seem to be number two or number three on the depth chart and kind of get overlooked, kind of under the radar, if you will.
Yeah, when Jeff Dowling picked me up originally in '07, you know, I said, "Hey, you know, I'm going to do just as well as Casey Powell." And he was like looking at me. I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, you know, like I'm confident in my ability to help this team, right? And
Mhm.
we had such a good unselfish team there, and it was amazing. Like Casey's ability to pass was like second to none. Like I mean, I there was games I was in awe. He threw me a pass. He went underneath his legs
Right.
while running, and I was wide open in front of the net. I missed the pass because I was in such shock at the skill of the. Honestly, we were playing against Boston. I believe it was 2010, and I'll never forget that. I was like in awe. And Jordan Hall, I mean, him and I on the pick and roll game was crazy. Brendan Mundorf, what an
Right.
unbelievable American offensive player. I'm a little upset he didn't play in 2010, but he made a decision to be ready for field for the Worlds in 2010.
Right.
But man, we had some great players and a close knit group. Obviously, we lost in the final. That game still haunts me today, losing
Right.
to Calgary. Um, that was a Twilight Zone game. Like what could go wrong did go wrong. Like
Right.
they
Sure.
scored on Vino, the half had gone. There was video replay that wouldn't have been a call. I hit the post, goes to Ryan Boyle, open net. He hits the post. It was wild, and I wish there was a two out of three final back then.
Mhm.
But whatever. Hats off to them. They won and they deserved it. But that was a
Absolutely.
tough loss.
Sure. Now, for you, especially with some of these teams, over COVID, Bill Fox, an old friend of mine, he gave me his entire collection of VHS tapes, which was going through the Mill League all the way up until about 2010, which included games with the Sting, games with the Orlando Titans and things like that, discs as well as VHS tapes. And over the last number of years, I have spent my time converting these things and putting it up on our All Across YouTube page. So if you ever get the need to want to see yourself play, they are there.
Well, thanks for doing that for us. We obviously want to go down memory lane sometimes, and thanks for doing that for everybody.
I love doing it just as a tool for one to show people the game before and after. Also, a lot of the guys who are on behind the benches now were in their heyday, and to
Of
show
course,
them in their mindset of how they were as players as opposed to just suits behind the bench.
that's right.
But there's some great games there.
Oh yeah,
There is even one Columbus Landshark game.
awesome,
So
awesome. Oh,
there's a I've gotten about
those were some good years.
Yeah, I say I've gotten through about half of them, so there's still about another 40 tapes that I've got to go through and get them up there. But there's about 40 games up there, spread throughout all the other stuff that's on that YouTube channel.
Awesome.
You come to Toronto, and Jamie had just bought the team in 2010. They just lost in the finals to the I guess at that time was the Washington Stealth,
Yeah.
and now you're here with the Toronto Rock. And talk about coming in to this organization for one, and the mindset, because it was all or nothing at this point.
Yeah, it was an extreme sense of pride to play for a championship organization. I was extremely excited to play with Colin Doyle. Him and I had a lot of good chemistry playing for Team Canada together in the '96 juniors. Other than that, we never really had the opportunity to play a lot with each other.
Right.
It was always against each other, so it was good teaming up with him. I was extremely excited to get coached by Terry Sanderson and by Troy Cordingley, and then just be around the champions and see what they did and take that in. So I had worked really hard in the off season to be in good shape, and my injury was a bit unfortunate, just bad
Right.
timing. I was playing an exhibition game. I got hit by a guy that never really played much box at all. He slid from the wrong position, so I didn't really see him. I was virtually
Right.
hit from behind to the side, but
Mhm.
I learned a lot of lessons in that rehab process that made me a better healthcare practitioner nowadays, right? But Jamie and I, the owner, we got along very well. We played some poker together, and he was
Right.
very interactive with his team back then, and it was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And this is your one NLL championship too. So talk about that, because this bit, even for the city itself, it was what, 6 years at that point between championships, and this was
Yeah,
something.
we were the last team to win, right?
Yeah.
So it was again another surreal moment to have lost in two finals and have the opportunity. Bob Watson stood on his head in that fourth quarter, and there was some good posts for our sake.
Right.
But again, just another great team. Like Terry and Troy did a great job at coaching the group, and the young guys contributed. And Rob Hellier, who's still playing, was on the
Yeah,
team.
he was a rookie at that time too. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a lot of just good lacrosse players, but a better team. Always played like a team. That's really what their real message was, and That's what I took from playing with the Rock.
Right. They really had a good balance in there because they were strong defensively. Drew Petkoff, guys like that. Phil Sanderson was on the team. Lots of scoring. They had you. They had Cam Woods was on that team. Colin Doyle, of course. You had Billings and LeBlanc who were rookies who were just
Oh yeah,
coming.
Billings was unbelievable. I mean, gosh, those 2 or 3 years he was so smooth and slick out there. Blaine Manning was such a good picker of the ball, very good off the ball. A good teammate, very good teammate. Cam Woods and I were close. We played on Team Canada together, and he was a beast as a player I mean, his whole career really, but that year he was a big part of that championship team.
Right.
So yeah, very
And,
blessed. Casey Burns, like my
yeah.
buddy from Columbus, man, he knew how to put the ball in the net around the net. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So we had very similar games that way. So it was a great team, like lots of talent, but played as a team.
Yeah, I had Casey on the show and we talked about that too. I actually still have the newspaper clipping, which has I think it was him and Cam Woods hoisting the trophy first off after winning it.
That's
So yeah,
right.
that's still one of my prized things in here amongst all the stuff that's in here.
Awesome, awesome.
All right, let's fast forward a little bit. So both you and Whipper decided championship. We're calling it a career. The biggest thing that we talked about off air is the athletes who stay on too long. How did you know it was time to kind of move on and let's get to the next phase?
Well, I actually think I could have played another year or two, but I had just had my second child, Mia, in 2009.
Right.
So things were getting busy on the home front
Hmm.
with two daughters, and my business was exploding. 2008, I had taken over the clinic that Mark, my business partner, and I still own,
Right.
Accelerated Health, and it's just was with me having to rehab my knee and all the stuff away from lacrosse, I didn't think I would have had the desire or the time to maintain the level of play that I was accustomed to. Like I probably could have been a 15 goal, 50 assist guy and been, fifth, sixth for a few more years and
Hmm.
maybe got injured. But you know what? It was nice going out in style, winning a championship. I had always aspired to play till I was 35 or past Tom
Right.
Marichuk. Marichuk had 399 goals, and he
Right.
was someone I always really looked up to. But you know what? Like at the end of the day, it stuff doesn't matter because, I won a championship and I have the memories and the friendships. And at the time, you don't realize that, right? You want to keep playing, all that stuff. But
Sure.
I sit here and speak to you now knowing that, I was just blessed to be able to play and then have the career I did.
Sure. Well, the other thing too is that lacrosse being a part-time gig and full-time, unlike hockey or something like that, where you were in market and you were living there and everything else, you got to fly in for games, you got to fly back out for games, you got to have life in between, and all the other grinds that eventually, life overtakes all the other
100%.
thing there too.
100%.
Right. You move into coaching. Let's talk about the mindset that had to get yourself into coaching and give back.
So immediately after lacrosse, it was very hard to be in an arena and go to games.
Right.
I had to take an extended period of time. It was rough on me mentally.
Hmm.
And it was only until my son started becoming more interested in lacrosse. Even his first year of soft, I was like,
Right.
I went and helped a bit, but like he really seemed disinterested. And that's when Jamie Taylor approached me saying, "Hey, do you want to start this lacrosse thing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not driving to Stony Creek. My son barely wants to play lacrosse." And then one year into U7, second year U7, we
Hmm.
had a really good team, and Maverick kind of turned the corner with loving the game and becoming a little bit more skilled, we'll say. And Jamie and I talked to Jamie and brought Kyle Mathisen and kind of developed Title Lacrosse, and that thing's going well. And
Right.
I'm enjoying coaching. Last year, the U9 team, it was a bit different than U7, but this year we're going to have a really strong team. So I'm enjoying it. That's the thing. Like for a while, I just didn't want anything to do with lacrosse, just because it was kind of a hard end of my career for me
Sure.
mentally. But now it's nice
Right.
to give back.
Let's describe your philosophy coaching in a couple of words. How would you say that you are as a mentor to players, or use more of experience, or you more blueprintish, or how would you put it?
I want the kids that I'm coaching to develop life skills.
Right,
Respect for their coaches, respect for authority is a little bit lost in the youth. It does come from us, but like them to be
right,
respectful not only to me as a head coach, but to all the coaches. So making sure that's one of our rules. Obviously, have lots of fun, and the last thing is how can I be a better teammate? And what I mean by that is I want my 5 goal a game guy to start playing some defense, and I also want my defensive guy to try to score a goal and help the team or get in transition. So I try to teach them that each and every practice and game, how can I help my teammates or my team? So that's kind of, I think, built into my philosophy. Everyone knows I'm an intense guy. I'm serious. I'm competitive, but um, for
right.
coaching the real young guys, I want them to have fun. If they don't like the game, they're not going to play again. So I'm obviously cognizant of that. But respect,
Uh-huh.
teamwork and hard work is and fun is where I think that if you want to put in just a couple words where I'd like to
Right,
start with my philosophy.
right. You're more into systems and structure, or would you say you're more into teaching creativity and instincts and developing them?
Ooh, what a great question. This year accidentally I really realized the power of private sessions like we Adam Luchenkoff and I who's one of my assistants last year. We felt like the kids were behind fundamentals, so we brought the net and the rebounder out and divided them out into three three groups of 4 kids, and it was just 2 of us. And man, the amount they got in 1 hour with me versus 10 practices through the year, it was completely different. So I'm a big stickler on fundamentals, like with title lacrosse. I want to kind of make sure we go back to
Right,
U7, make sure the kids understand how to pick
right,
up a ball, how to trap a ball, how to pick up a ball moving, how to hold the stick vertically, be in the proper equipment so that they're in a position to succeed once things get rolling. Lacrosse is a game that I think athleticism hides some fundamental weaknesses. So as a coach, I'm really a stickler on identifying that early on. You know, you got the workhorse that scores 4 goals. Well, can he cradle? What's he going to do when we go to A next year and he's playing against a good defender and he's holding his stick horizontally? Like those are the things that I'm trying to develop and evolve skills within the kids. Like at title lacrosse, I enjoy floating between the stations, so I could pull a kid out and help improve that poor fundamental at that moment. I think that's important. Um, I, one of the things that I would like to see come back in lacrosse is playing both ends of the floor. Some of the most beautiful lacrosse
yes, I
played
agree.
was the junior Whippy teams in the late '90s, like Gavin Prout and Pat Jones and those Jim Bishop kids. That's what I would like to see like lacrosse go to. So that's a system. That's as system as it gets, robotic as it is. But within that, creativity on the skill front. So from a team structure, play really up and down the floor, very heavy transition. Teach the kids to play both ends of the floor. I thought, like when my first year in Buffalo, Ted Sawicki ran that, and we were basically a goal away from getting to the finals and possibly beating Toronto because we beat them twice that year. So that's what
Right,
I would like to see come back from lacrosse. That's going to be built into my philosophy as I get older to be real system based. Run and gun, we'll call
right.
it.
I always right. I always harp on, especially with the pro guys, character. Character wins cups. Playing for the front of the jersey, not for the back. That's what wins cups. Not about all the talent. You can have all the top guys in the world. They're not the ones that are winning. The ones that have the character in the room and have the character on the floor. Is there a way that we teach that at a young level about character and
Well,
about
yeah,
how
like
to
like
do the things for your
Yeah, that's exactly what I told you earlier. As I sit and have the parents' meetings at the beginning of the year, that's one of my rules is how can we be better
Right.
teammates? So that's fundamentally with me right from 7, 8 years of age. I'm trying to instill that in them at a young age. This day and age with, having video and seeing out there, like it's very me driven, right, with that stuff. And, I'm not going to lie, I was very statistic driven myself earlier on in my career when I was younger, because if I didn't score when I was younger, we didn't win. So I learned some bad behaviors with that, but I was always trying to help my team that way. But character wise, yeah, that's going to come with, I think, how the coach structures the team, doing some team outings away from lacrosse that are fun, like team
Right.
building stuff. Like at a young age, going to the trampoline park and letting them have some fun and play like team games away from lacrosse will help develop that, because then they'll have to work together to win, not just have one kid go lead them out. And as I said earlier, I talked about all these great teams I was on, but what did I say about the Rock, the team that won? We were
Mhm.
great team. We were a great team, right? So you see it at all levels of sports. St. Louis Blues, when they won, who did they have? They had about three or four decent guys, but they all played as a whole team. I mean, and the
That's it
Bandits, yeah, they're
exactly.
skilled. They're skilled, but they played as a team, and that's built into my coaching philosophy. Like
Hmm.
Kyle and I were lucky. Like he plays for the Bandits, but we're lucky to be able to coach
Absolutely.
together. Where you got two former pro guys with opposite personalities, but very similar philosophies, right?
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's look a little bit into the state of the union of the game, and of course, lacrosse going into the Olympics in 2028. What are first of all your thoughts on sixes?
Oh, I love that, man. I wonder how I would have did with that, having that much field with my speed and the ability to score. I often, once I got to field lacrosse,
Right.
especially when I got to attack, it was quite easy for me because I'm scoring on a 4x4 and now it's big and give me more room. I love it. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's the right form of lacrosse to be seen by the world. I think it's fantastic.
Right.
It's a sense of pride, a little bit jealousy because I mean,
We
I'm
had
like,
talked
where
about
was that?
we had talked about making the net maybe a 4x4 instead of 6x6, maybe give the goalie a chance. And it was Bob Tearing that came up with it. You're going to get the goalie killed with the guys with that much talent and not that pinpoint of a shot. You're going to get that poor goalie killed. Give him the
That's
6 feet and let him get corners and things like that, so that it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
going
yeah.
directly at a goalie with no equipment.
Oh yeah. So I love it.
But do you think that the leagues are going to be smart enough to have an exit strategy? It's one thing to get 280 countries to watch, but if you don't have something to do after the fact, it's going to be, oh, that was lovely, and then on we go. This is the point where we can get off of floor 3 or 4 and get onto the penthouse and really get the world to get interested in lacrosse.
Yeah, I'm not understanding. Was that a question or you might have broke up? Sorry.
I'm just thinking I'm thinking your take on it that the leagues need to have an exit strategy after the Olympics, so that
Oh, to carry to carry
when they're
sixes on.
finished with it, to build, yeah, to
Yeah,
build with it, right?
yeah, well, look at the World Cup, right? In between, there's like 2 years in between. There's a Euro Cup, so maybe be able to take it into have a North American Cup, and just have some exhibition games between, Canada, U.S., and
Mhm.
Haudenosaunee, and then do that in different parts of the world. In Europe, you got quite a bit of teams. Like you could have put the world champions in between. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, I think will help keep it a little bit more visible rather than every 4 years.
Right.
So I agree with you.
I agree.
What is that strategy? I don't know, but that's the first thing that comes to my head.
Right. I'm in Europe every year for the Urabowski tournament, and the one thing I've noticed year in and year out is the elevation of European lacrosse. And every year it gets
Yes.
better and better and better.
Oh, yeah.
Do we start thinking of it like hockey? And if we're not careful in North America, slowly but surely they're going to kind of make their way up.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that like lacrosse is growing still so much in Canada that Like, let's look at our lacrosse development program. Like, I mean, we've tripled in 2 years. The parents are getting, I don't want to say sick of hockey, but not everyone can afford $5,000 or $6,000 for hockey season in
Yeah.
their team. And, it's lacrosse might be a little bit more of an affordable option, and we have more numbers and more good coaches. That's what we're trying to do at Title is as we develop these in-season skill sessions with coach, we got to develop the coaches to be able to deliver the same strong message as, us as a pro may be saying with the experience, right? So it's our job is to develop coaches, and I think that's what I got from one of my patients, Cliff. He's Can-Am hockey
Mhm.
president, and
Right.
he told me a year ago to start developing coaches, and he says that hockey in US has surpassed Canada because the parents are paying for the elite coaches one on one. So elite coaches are getting sought after, and
Right.
as long as you got those good coaches giving back to the game, I don't think lacrosse is gonna struggle. Yes, they will catch up just because like it's such a big um gap that they'll close. But if we just keep developing the coaching, I think that's where we can stay above um
Right.
other countries.
Sure. I want to hit on the All Star game. You were around for a bunch of them with the NLL. Um, are we missing the boat now that we have all these TV contracts and we don't have an All Star game? The PLL does it, and they do it to the nines, and they really pump up the skills and everything else. The game itself, whatever. It's kind of like flag football to me. It'd be 500 goals, but we come up with an interesting idea. Is it would
Um,
be the champion of the year last year, so Buffalo, would host the All Star game. So give them 6 months to market the game and have them play the NLL All Stars. So there's a little bit of stake in the game. Makes sense,
Yeah, I think it's an avenue to discuss. I think that's exciting from the pure lacrosse person like you and I. But does the regular lacrosse fan want to see that? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not a it's not a bad idea. I just love what we did in the '03 thing. We had skills competition, breakaway contest,
yep.
fastest runner, like the old school NHL, Wales versus Campbell conference. It was awesome. And I
Mhm.
don't know why they don't go. It's a good opportunity to showcase. I mean, the game was exciting. I think it was 16-15. I mean, you know, I don't know.
Right.
Unfortunately, people are motivated by money. Just have an all-star game with skills competition, and the winning team gets $1,000 and the losers get 250, something like that. I don't know, something like that. I think
I,
that's
I love it.
doing
It's fun.
something is better than doing nothing.
Right.
That's
And
my
getting all
opinion.
that talent in one place at one time, it to me
Yeah,
is worthwhile right there, and a great marketing point.
yep.
Now, you had alluded to getting into chiropractor. Let's talk about that because of it seems as though a lot into the chiropractor business and the idea of healing. And is it more because you understand the nature of the sports injuries or the other injuries to have a better understanding how to fix us?
Yeah, I definitely feel like my life as an athlete helped make me a better chiropractor because I'm very rehab based. Like, I think there's not much of a difference between a great chiropractor and a great physio because they're going to address ergonomics, they're going to strengthen, they're going to stretch, put the patient, get them involved in care, help you get better quick. That's what the athlete wants, right? Get back to the field quick. So I try to put that into my philosophy as a practitioner. So yeah, absolutely. Like, how can I feel better but get fixed, not just feel better? That's what we strive at Accelerate Health is
Right.
to fix the problem rather than just get out of pain.
Hmm.
Some of my philosophies, it sounds a bit insensitive, but I don't care much about pain. I care more about fixing the problem, and then the pain will take care of itself.
Sure.
So that's
Sure.
what the athlete wants,
But
right?
you're right. Your clinic does so much more than just the chiropractor thing. You deal with all kinds of different injuries and even down to the mental aspect of it. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we offer we just did a lunch and learn today for Intrepid Health to introduce ourselves and our services. We have 4 physiotherapists, 2 chiropractors, 1 osteopath, 1 nurse practitioner, 5 massage therapists, and a good team of kinesiologists and admin people. And we all try to work together with helping the patient. Myself, I'm obviously a chiropractor, but a little bit more neurology based, like disc injuries in the low back and neck, sports
Right.
injuries. I'm also certified in concussion, so that's a big passion of mine within my profession.
I've had a number of the different people with the cognitive thing on there, and the one was an Olympic biker, and the company he had formed and talked about that and all the recovery, because I never realized how much of a contact sport biking was, and the concussions he was talking about and all the rest of that is with all the knowledge we have now, are we safer in what we're doing, or are we still kind of flying by the seat of our pants?
Well, I think we are. You look at the NFL, right? These guys got that little extra thing that goes on their helmets. Not all of them wear it. Most guards don't necessarily prevent a concussion, but they limit the effects of it, right? So,
Right.
I want to start getting into more concussion prevention. Like, there's a good device that we're working on getting at my office called the Iron Neck. It's a pulley system for the neck. So, who goes and does neck strengthening exercises, right? We
Right.
pump the weights to get our chest bigger, but those are the things that we try to instill with our patients as we fix them, so that they're better prepared for it happening. So, oh yeah, we are a lot further along in than we ever been. And I just think I think every team, not necessarily NLL team, but every team should have a clinic that they have confidence in to get their athletes there in a suspected concussion or get to a practitioner right away. And um,
Right.
medicine has its place, but you need to be evaluated and examined physically, neurologically, and emotionally, right? Like the mental impact of
Sure.
injuries. Post traumatic stress disorder is very, very deep in concussion. Person falls, hits their head, gets in a car accident. Is the doctor aware of that? Are they addressing and sending to the psychologist? So yeah, we are way above, and I'm proud of my training. I got trained by Shift Concussion Management. It was the group that fixed Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's first concussion was misdiagnosed on the more
Right.
neurological base of the concussion, but he had a C4 spinal fracture and severe whiplash. So the symptoms of whiplash and concussion are very intertwined. So you need to have a good exam to identify how much of this is whiplash and how much is it concussion.
Right. Should we be looking at having somebody like a chiropractor on all the team as a
Well,
regular thing
I know
to
that
have them?
I know the Bandits do. They got a pretty good team over there, and I'm sure most teams do.
Right.
So I would say yes. I mean, I'm not saying just the pros. I'm talking about junior level. It's why Paul Day approached us. His son gets treated by my business
Right.
partner. He loves our clinic. He's been through the block. He knows that this is a facility I got to get my athletes to, not just on injuries if they happen, but on like keeping well, like staying on the massage, staying on your stretching, like those are the things that we can start maximizing on injury prevention and athletic performance.
Right. Now we talked off air a little bit also about needing of a group for when players retire, because as you had mentioned too, the player dies twice, right? And is this also part and parcel to be in the same kind of realm, is to have these kind of groups to make sure that these guys are taken care of, that they're not just left alone. And the biggest death is you're in the limelight and then you are now here and
Gone.
getting used to
So
being
yeah,
Joe Average again.
Ron Jaros and I used to talk about this, and he loved my idea back when I was finishing up my career with the PLPA. But I think all pro sports unions need to have, we'll call it a post-retirement binder, I call it, and awareness of psychological effects of careers being over, because it's not fun. And I bet you any former pro athlete listening to me talk about this had a struggle at some phase of it. And it's, how do you deal with it? A lot of guys go to alcohol, a lot of guys go to drugs. Unfortunately, some of these NHL players kill
Mhm.
themselves. So let's get these athletes aware of what's going to happen when they're done, from
Yeah.
their emotional state of mind. Um, it's something that I think is serious, and I think that needs some attention and time devoted to. It's not hard to just give a guy, once he hits 28, to give him the binder. Yeah, here's just something from the PLPA. Here's something from the NLL that you might want to keep and go through and know that, okay, when your career is over, are you prepared for it? How are you what are you gonna do with your life? What are you doing with your career? How are you gonna identify yourself? Are you gonna be involved in lacrosse? Do you not want to be involved in lacrosse? Here are some psychologists that we have put in place that deal with athletes and know what you've gone through. Even support people, us former players, be there for current players going through it. You know what I mean? Like a buddy system. I don't know.
Right.
I
Yeah, because
take
we
pride in
Mhm.
trying to, take what I've been blessed with, in education, good parents, and
Mhm.
maybe use my past lacrosse life and, doctor and clinic skills to help people further.
Right.
That's something that I'd like to see.
Sure.
I don't want to say I neglected it, but it's hard to get that to the right people, and hopefully some people that are listening to this that are on the influence have the ability to put a program together for these guys playing,
Right. It's
and
funny
not
because we
just
take care, or
lacrosse.
we try and take care. Yeah, we try and take care of their financial things so they have a nest egg to be in when they're finished. But we don't worry about the mental state, and I think that's much more important than the
100
financial thing.
100%.
Right. Listen, I want to thank you. That was one quick hour talking
Yeah, it
about
was
talking about
time. The
life and
time
lacrosse
flew.
with you. I really want to thank you for taking.
No
Yeah,
problem. And thanks for having the
I really
Arizona Sting
appreciate you
jersey up
taking the
there.
time.
Hey, thanks for having the Arizona Sting jersey up there.
Oh, no problem. It's my one of my
Yeah, if I
one of
would
my
have if I
favorites.
would have did it, yeah, if you would have saw, I have two jersey boxes at my office, at work. So, but I was already home. That you did see two jerseys. It's my family there, and you saw the dogs earlier interrupting us.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's all good. It's all good. I really want to thank you for taking the time. I'd love you to keep in contact, and we'll see how everything goes, and hopefully some of these ideas will come to the forefront.
Yeah, call, have me on anytime. I enjoy, speaking about lacrosse and health, and maybe, blending the two to help athletes in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. For Pat Maddalena, I'm Gary Groob. This has been NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen every Thursday at 4 p.m. Don't forget to check us out every single week, as we have some great guests upcoming as well. And until next week, please remember to keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Until we see you next week, have a great week, everybody.